All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast. And Paul McLean here, excited, honored to have you guys leaning in and watching today. And I just can tell you this much. I'm honored to have Isaiah on, and he's going to bring you guys some practical things that I promise you will make this week better than last week. And Isaiah, every week, man, I sit back and I think we were just talking about this prior, and I think about who can we have on that's going to best serve everybody. And man, there's been a lot of different people in this business that have meant a lot to me in my business. And some have been, they came on board and it was just like their growth was, it was almost like, man, I could do more. It was belief building. Some, it was healthy reminders. Some it was insight. And for you, man, I've almost gotten a little bit of all that from you. And the reminders of importance of numbers has really resonated with me well. And it got me thinking about, as I got started in the business, how fanatical, and I was just like, I knew all the numbers, dude, like everything about it. And I think too often times people get head faked and they start to find solutions that are addressing things that are only symptoms, not the root. And the numbers reveal the root, right? Everything else, it's just symptom based. And you might misdiagnose what's really going wrong. You might say, man, that's cancer. And you give it radiation. No, fool, that was a sore throat, for God's sakes. And he had a fever because and now he's got radiation. Now you got all these other issues. Now you got more things. But that's how it happens in this business. And so sometimes the wrong reaction or response to something messes you up. And so, Isaiah, I'm excited to kind of get into numbers, the importance of them, what that all looks like. Before we get into that, guys, if you guys could just make sure, reminder, hit like, subscribe. That way you're up to date with all the content that's getting produced every single week. And like I said, our goal is very much purposed in giving you the most information that's going to make a difference. Really good content. And also share it. A simple share might make a big difference in somebody that is needing to hear this message that's going to help them take them to the next level in the business. And if you didn't share it, they wouldn't see it. And I just know for myself, Isaiah, I don't know if you can speak to this, but dude, I've gone many times to a meeting or a conference call or a podcast, and I was in a place in my business where I was doubting, I was discouraged, I was disappointed. And if it wasn't for that message I inclined my ear to, if it wasn't for that message that only because I chose to position myself to listen to it and hear it, I don't know if I'd still be in this business, and it's just things like that matter. And so, Isaiah, as we get into this, bro, you're a guy that just went from a couple $100,000 a month a year ago to over $1 million a month in issue paid business. You've grown by $1 million a month in the past 12 months. And so if anybody's like, well, what is it? That's a big deal. That's a massive deal to grow $1 million a month in a year. And so, dude, if you can kind of talk about, as we get into this, how important has tracking numbers been for you in your business as you got started in the business? How did you use numbers to build confidence? Just what was the purpose of them and how did they serve you, man?
Well, first, man, I just want to thank you for having me on. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing, the Monday Morning Wake Up podcast. I watch it every week. And you were a true, person that I looked up to when I first got into this business. And I can't thank you enough, man, for just laying the foundation, because I've talked to you about in the past before, but we're just being really good copycats. So I appreciate you laying the foundation, man. Yeah, tracking your numbers was a huge part of my business when I first got started. And there's a number of reasons, but I would say the main reasons why I did it was because I wasn't 100% sure, ways that I could improve, or maybe in certain areas of the business that I might have been struggling in. I wasn't exactly sure, how I can identify that. And the only way the only solution that I had was like, all right, I'm going to track my numbers and I'm going to see exactly every little aspect of this business to see what's going on, because ultimately, right, we're business owners, and, it'd be really foolish as a business owner to not understand what's going on within your business. Right. And you actually came to Salt Lake City. I don't know if you remember this, but you came and you did a sales conference there. And it was funny. You said, you said you tracked your numbers to a point where you knew how much money you were making per dial. And you said someone answered the phone and hung up on you, and you picked up the phone again right after just to breathe into it. And you're like, that's $6, fool. And just hung up. Right. And as funny as that was, it was really eye-opening for me, because I realized, geez, if you really do track this thing down and break it down to a level like that, people that work these hourly wage jobs, $15 an hour, $16 an hour, that's like 2 dials for us. That can take 2 seconds. You know what I mean? And I think that just gave me strong affirmations that what I'm doing is working. A lot of the rejections that I'm getting on the phone, just all the stuff that goes wrong, it really just helped me understand that it's steps, right? Every little thing that I do in this business, it results to the big picture, right? And so that was huge for me getting started, man.
Well, I think, man, for one, it's just the way you see stuff. And I know kind of it's cliche and it's one of those, success principles that many have heard, but it's when you get that mindset of this is happening for me, not happening to me, just the way you kind of work that out in your mind, it allows you to find different things that really kind of make that become true. So if this is happening for me, what can I get from this that's going to aid me in getting to where I want to go? How can I use this? Where if this is happening to me, I'm the victim, I'm afflicted. That breeds doubt, discouragement, all these different things that doesn't lead you down the path to success, but in fact leads you to the path of failure. And so when you say, and I remember, having that aha moment, Isaiah, where I broke it down. I thought, man, even the ones that hang up, like I'm still making the same amount per dial. If I could just divide how many dials I made by the AP I wrote for the week, I'm going to know how much I made per dial. And I do remember that, dude. That was one of those things where I had this guy, dude, he was yelling, cussing at me and and I was like, all right. So I hang up the phone and then I just called back and I just breathed in it like a weirdo from a scary movie. You know what I mean? I was like, that's $6 right there. I got you, fool. You know what I mean? You thought you got me, I got you. But dude, can you talk about like how do you track your numbers? What numbers do you track? Kind of give us some of that, practicality of like, was it dials? Was it appointments? Was it shows? Was it no? What numbers are you tracking?
For sure. So, starting in the beginning, okay, I would track like the amount of leads I purchased. So let's just say it was 20 leads or 100 leads, okay? And I would break that down to the cost. How much did that cost me, okay? And then I would break it down a step further after that, and I would say, gosh dang it, let me just pull it up. I actually have a report right here.
Yeah, pull it up, dude. And while you're pulling it up, Isaiah, the one thing I want to let everybody know is when you do it this way, you can literally call out your week. So I knew every week what I was going to produce. I knew that if I bought $1,000 in leads, it was typically going to lead to X amount of appointments. That would lead to X amount of shows. That would lead to X amount of closes. That would lead to X amount of opportunities for annuities. That everything would. And so when I looked at that, it's easier, guys, to keep your emotionality based off results to be leveled out, because if you're not getting the results you want, then you could say, well, I'm due. So if I had a bad day, I wasn't like, maybe I'm not gonna, maybe I was just lucky for the past 9 years or whatever. I would say, no, numbers are numbers. If I flip a coin, right, the ratio everybody would agree is 50-50. Nobody disputes that. But also if I flip it 3 times, I can get 3 heads in a row. That doesn't mean it's not a 50-50 ratio. That just means I haven't flipped a coin enough. And what that does mean also is that if I'm a betting man, I should start betting on some tails, because it's inevitable. If I get to 5,000 coins flips, it's going to be about exactly 2,500 and 1 to 2,499. It's going to be almost exactly 50-50. The reality of the ratio is revealed through the law of large numbers. And so that's where you start to, and by the way, if you have a bad week, it's like, hey, endure it and expect to enjoy a week that's going to be beautiful around the corner. If you have a week where you're like, dude, this is weird. Man, I should have only wrote 10,000. I wrote 32,000. Okay, well, enjoy it, because you're about to endure a week that might look a little different. It's just the way it is. Numbers are numbers. So anyways, man, I'll get it back to you so you can kind of break that down.
Yeah. So, first was number of leads purchased. Okay. Total leads spent, how much that would cost me. And I'd break that down. I'd say, okay, how many dials did I make? Out of those dials, how many appointments did I book out of those dials? After those appointments that I sat, actually, how many people, or after how many appointments I booked, how many of those people that I booked that I actually sat down and gave a presentation to? Okay. After that, how many sales I did out of those sits with the total annual premium after that. So with those numbers, once you have your annual premium, you're able to kind of break it down to, your AP per lead, right? All right. If I buy 100 leads, I know I can expect to have X amount of AP out of there. My AP per dial, right? Annual premium per dial, that's a big one. My annual premium per appointment. So every time I book an appointment, all right, that's 300 AP or whatever that number comes out to. My annual premium per sit, annual premium per sale. And then you can even go even deeper into that and then, break down your show ratio and then, your total close ratio, final expense and mortgage protection. I broke that up and then the total after that. So, that just really brought things into perspective because, another reason why that was so big is because Zach Egan is who I work directly with. And there were times in the business where, when I was brand new and just getting started, I would just call him up and I'd say, Zach, I'm struggling. I don't know exactly, what I'm doing wrong. I'm doing all the right things. I just don't know what I'm doing. Give me some help. And it would be really tough now that I'm in a position, where Zach was with me. It's kind of tough to kind of help guide someone because it's like, well, I mean, what's going on? Let's break this down all the way to the beginning. But, when I was coming to Zach and I would say, hey, Zach, it looks like here I'm booking enough appointments out of the leads that I'm getting. And when I'm sitting down with clients, I'm noticing, or when I'm booking these appointments, I notice that I'm not sitting down with nearly as many people as I should be sitting down with. So what can I do to fix that? Right now we have something that's targeted, something that's specific that, him and I can work on one-on-one to improve. Right. So that was a really big thing, is just being able to identify what areas I need help in.
Yeah. Isaiah, did you played basketball in college?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Did you ever have a coach that was blind? Like one of your basketball coaches, like he couldn't see, he had no eyesight, he was blind, like legally blind?
No.
All right. So this is kind of how I look at it, dude. So imagine if you had a blind coach, like how hard it would be to coach you. Like he's like draws up a play. All right, you guys go execute. And then at the end of the play, he'd have to ask you 5,000 questions because there's a lot of things going on in that play. Like, Isaiah, did you make the pass? Bob, did you pass it back to Isaiah? Did you make the run? Isaiah, did you get to make the layup? Okay, you did. Was it because somebody guarded? Did it pull off? Dude, there'd be, by the time he had a chance to draw up a new play and give you feedback and course correction and adjust to to be in a position to change the direction of the game where you could go out there and continue to score and win. By the time he got all the information, dude, the timeout's over, bro. You ain't got no play to run. He just gathered it all, but he had no chance to get. And that's the way it is when you're working with an agent. If they call you and say, man, I don't know what's going on. I'm not hitting my goal. I'm doing everything I should be doing. I'm working. I'm not hitting my goal. That's like saying the play didn't get executed and I'm blind because I didn't see it. Well, how many dials did you make? And you got to spend 15 minutes going through all the information. By the time you want to give feedback, dude, you ain't got no more time. You got to go on and reach out to somebody else. And so if coaching is and I think I've identified it for me personally, that coaching is a single biggest thing that will help somebody grow, like a coachable mindset, like being willing to adapt and evolve. Because I don't know if many people, anybody can do this business. There's leads, it's phones, it's simple. But to reach a level of greatness and excellence, you have to make tweaks and adjustments and course corrections and change things. And so coachability is massive. But if you are not putting yourself in a position to be coached, you're missing the very thing that's going to allow you to go out there and hit new levels. You're missing the very thing that's going to take the things that happened for you. Well, you're seeing it such a way where it happened to you because you can't even identify the things that need to be changed. And so that's such a big deal. Isaiah, how did having all these numbers, how did that help you in your business? Like, what did it mean for you?
I would say, the main thing that it gave me was the affirmation that just the confidence that I'm doing the right thing. Now I've gotten to the size of my business where, I'm not tracking numbers as specific as I used to in the past. And that's just because, we're focused on other things, right? I'm not doing so much of the personal production side of things. But it was massive for me when I first got started, just because, again, it gave me that confidence that I was doing the right thing and, what exactly I can improve on. I knew where to put my money in certain areas. If I had a lead vendor, for example, that I noticed that I had a much higher ROI on, I would put more money towards that. Maybe I struggled with direct mail final expense or whatever, and I said, okay, I'm probably not going to put as much money into this because I personally struggle with it, right? It just kind of gave me a good idea of what my business is operating like and where I can kind of put money at to improve and take away from certain areas that I wasn't improving on. And, to go back earlier to what I said, when new agents, would say, hey, I'm doing everything right, or I'm doing everything that you're asking me to do, it's just not really working out. What's funny is 9 times out of 10, if they're tracking their numbers, you can easily identify what they're not doing, right? Everyone thinks that they're doing everything. I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. It's just not working. No. You're doing something wrong, right? And let's figure this out. Let's identify the problem. And, as a business owner, you should be able to be the one who identifies your problem. And this is the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to your point about tracking numbers, like, in the beginning stages, they need to be tracked and you have to be disciplined and be just crazy about it because it's in an early stage. It's a baby business. It's in the infant stage. We just got our fifth child. I got my little boy, saw him. And, he's like, I think 16 days old or something like that now. And, at this stage, I was like, we got to track like when he eats, how many ounces he eats, how many hours it's been. Like, dude, it's tracked, but my 14-year-old, I don't ask her when the last time she ate was. That would be weird. Like if Isaiah, I'm like, hey, dude, did you eat today? You'd be like, hey, why are you asking me that, dude? I just want to make sure you're not going to die. You're like, what do you mean I make sure I'm going to die, dude? So you track it in the beginning stages. So in the business, you need to know that, man. If you're opening up a restaurant, dude, you better believe they know how many people are coming in from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 2 to 4. They know that. They know who's buying. Are they buying filet? Are they buying, New York strip? They know what they're buying. What sides are selling most? Mac and cheese? Is it potato? They know that stuff because if they don't know it, they don't know where to put their time, energy, and effort, just like you said. If they know it, they might say, man, why are we opening up at 8 o'clock? Ain't nobody freaking here. We had one person here at 8 o'clock and our staff, all that kind of stuff. We're losing money from 8 to 10. If we open up at 12 o'clock, we'd actually increase our profitability because it's cost. You start to identify these different things. You have to track it. And if you don't track it, don't expect for it to improve. You can't expect what you don't inspect. You got to inspect your numbers every week. And then as you go into, Sunday night, you can say, okay, what tweaks, adjustments do I need to make? Do I need to get more of this vendor, less of this vendor? Do I need to, it looks like I'm more effective if I start dialing at 7:30 a.m. or I book more appointments at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. You'll know things. You'll know things. So when it comes to emotional stability, I think that this is really an important thing. I think that there's really talented people, Isaiah, that might be more talented and gifted than most people in the business, but they end up leaving the business because they can't get this right. And I think there's people that are not very talented and gifted. I mean, I think myself, but I was just very emotionally stable and not high or low about results or outcomes. It was just, I'm going to go do what's in my calendar, and my calendar is going to show what it needs to show for me to hit my goal. The plan's going to be in line. And that was one of the only probably good things I had going. Can you talk about like how tracking the numbers has helped with emotional stability? Maybe even talk about emotional stability. How important is it in your business? And have you experienced highs and lows? And how do you manage all that, dude?
Yeah, good question, man. And you nailed it right on the head. A lot of people struggle with this. And I think this is probably the biggest reason why, people who are really talented don't stick it out, is because, they're riding this roller coaster, right? This up and down. They have a 10K, week. They're on top of the world, and then they drop down and they're at the bottom, and it's hard to ride that. It is really tough. And to be honest with you, I struggled with that. I did in the beginning. I was a guy who got really, really excited. I came home super pumped up, excited, told the whole family how my day went. And, and then there was those days I came home, my shoulders are down, and my whole family knows right away, okay, don't talk to him because he had a bad day, right? But tracking my numbers, and this is honest to God truth, really did help me kind of disconnect myself emotionally, from riding this roller coaster, this business, because I knew with 100% confidence that if I bought the amount of leads that I needed to buy for that week, right, just from breaking everything down, and if I worked, right, it's not just buying the leads and not going to work. You got to work. I knew with 100% confidence that I was going to have a good month. I knew for sure, okay, I'm going to have bad days. I'll probably even have some bad weeks. But if I stay consistent and I stay unattached emotionally, I will never, ever, ever have a bad month, ever. And I still stand by that. So, I just tracking my numbers, if I had a bad week, I was totally okay, because I knew, all right, I have to buy X amount of leads for this coming up week. And I have to work, X amount of these hours. I have to make X amount of dials, and it's going to work. It will. It's going to work. So, I just tried not to really, like look at my bank account when I was first getting started, because you can really ride the highs there and then the lows there. So I try to like really just stay kind of disconnected there and just go to work. And the power of just being consistent over and over and over. It's like a snowball effect, man. And you can't stop it, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
Well, dude, the funny thing is, man, like I remember my first year in the business, I was never top like 20 on the leaderboard ever. And I knew that because they do a top 20 leaderboard. I never was on it in a given month. And at the end of the year, I was like number 8. And this is back when I was 19 years old. I was number 8 in the company. And I was like, how the heck is that possible? And what I realized was there was a lot of people that were number 1, number 5, number 9, number 12, and then they would slow off. So next month they might be number 82. And every month I was like, 20, 25, 30, and for the month, but I just did it the same every month. And this is back when you wrote 20 grand a month, dude, like you were a top producer, And so I wrote 20 grand every month, but there's people who wrote 50,000, 40, 60, but I just did it every month. And that's one of those things that I think this business could be the highest paid or the lowest paid. It could be the highest, most fulfilling, or it could be the most depressing. And I think this is exactly what we're talking about here. I think that if you can just be consistent to your schedule and the activity goals, and you can remove yourself away from staring at the results, the outcomes, you're going to be more fulfilled. You're going to have more work-life enjoyment, because your sense of like, I did good is based off of, did you do what you said you were going to do based off your calendar? Did your calendar sit it down from 7:30 a.m. to 12, and did you execute? And then did you take a break from 12 to 1 and watch the podcast? And from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, you need to get back. If you did that, it doesn't matter what the results are. If they were bad, they will shift back and be good, because numbers are numbers, and your calendar should reflect, when it's executed right, the numbers that you desire. It's pretty simple, but yet it's very hard to do. I think it's very difficult to pull yourself away from that. Do you think, looking at the numbers also, Isaiah, that it's possible to think that when you had a bad day on the phones, that you didn't carry it to the next day and really kind of self-sabotage appointments that you could have booked, but maybe you didn't book because you were emotional? And do you think that has any kind of play? Or if you killed it and you're super high, that you get away from and you start to compromise and you don't maybe dial 3 times back to back? I'm just do 2 because you had such a good day, or you don't make that last door knock. Do you think there's anything to that when it comes to agents?
100%, dude. That's a really big point too. And I think something that helped me a lot is I treated every day like I was back to zero. And when you're tracking your numbers, it doesn't matter what yesterday's numbers came out, because today's a new day, right? I have 8 appointments on the books. And if I wrote $5,000 yesterday, it doesn't matter, because today is a new day and I need to hit my numbers for this specific day, right? So like for me, when I was full time, my goal is to write 10 grand a week. I break that down. I had like a little calendar just like a calendar in my bedroom that I wake up to every day. Something that I just did personally that would just kind of help me stay consistent and stay accountable is the word I was looking for. But basically what I would do is I would kind of backtrack everything. Like if I had a monthly goal, let's just say it was 40,000. Okay. I would plan my month out before on the 31st or the 30th of the month before. And I would track every day of the month. Right. And I'd say, okay, this day I've got to go to this birthday party. This day I've got to go here. This day I've got to do this. I've got my non-negotiables here on this day, whatever. Right. And I'm Xing those days out. Okay. So it looks like out of the 30 days for next month, I'm going to be in the field for 19 days. Okay. So if I'm in the field for 19 days and I want to write 40 grand, I'm going to do the math, right? How much do I need to write each field day to do 40 grand? Okay, now let's break that down even further. If I need to write X amount on each day, how many dials do I need to make on that dial day to write that much business? And break it down. How many leads do I need to buy, right? So keeping it back to zero every day just held me accountable for that specific day, because if I wrote 2,500 that day, I hit my goal for that day, which was good, right? And I put a green check mark on that day. I hit the goal. But the next day after that, if I didn't write my, let's just say I wrote $5,000, okay? And that's enough for a half week, right? Because I want to write 10 grand a week. If I only wrote $2,000 the next day, I'm still putting a big X. I didn't hit my goal for the day. So every day is specific, every day is individual, and I'm back to zero each day. And that's just kind of what helped me stay motivated and keep going, and not let the previous days influence my business today, right?
That's so good, man. I mean, that's worth everything right there. It's like the whole concept of success is rented and the rent is due every day. It's not like you can't, it's like, dude, it's like me telling my wife, I just don't spend any time with her for a full, month. I don't talk to her. I'm just standoffish. And she's like, what the heck? I'm like, babe, come on. You remember like a year ago when we went on vacation? Remember the stuff I got and all the time we spent together? You remember? Come on, babe. She's like, hateful. What do you mean a year ago? Like, it's what have you done for me lately? What does it look like today? You know what I mean? That just works, man. Like it's every day. And I think self-employed is unemployed when you don't have a schedule and structure. That's what it is. It's you're self-employed. You're unemployed. You have nothing planned today. Good luck. This is not a reactive business. This is a proactive planned business. You have to think, you have to plan, and you have to execute. And so I love that, man. And I love how, you could break all that down and know exactly what was necessary every day. And then that's freeing, because now, okay, all I have to do is execute. And dude, this business, I think when you've got all these different thoughts clouding your mind, what about this? Or I got to get back to this person, or all these tasks and to-do lists, which I think is just a bunch of crap. What it does is it bogs you down. And now you can't focus with full energy, full emotion, full focus on the task that needs to be accomplished. And what you feel like is just depleted and underproductive because of it. And I think that this is the stuff that makes a big, big difference. So for somebody that's just getting started, you're not going to know your numbers because you don't have numbers. But if you track them after like 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to have, starting to have more data and working data to say, okay, this is what it looks like. And Isaiah, I remember working with this agent, his top producer, And he called me up, dude, so discouraged. Like, just like, man, this isn't working. I don't know if I'm cut out for this. And this is a guy that's written 20,000, 30,000 a month for, dude, like well over a year. And he was just going through he had a bad full month. And it's funny how no matter how much success you've had in validation and proof of concept that this does work, how much layers of that could be there, but it only takes 1 month to kind of get you twisted. You know what I mean? Which is kind of interesting. But he's going, and this is a guy that tracks his numbers. So I said, dude, send me over your last 8 weeks of trackers is what I asked him. What, the FFL tracker, how many dials, appointments, all this stuff, exactly what you're talking about. I said, send it over to me so I could take a look at it. And cause I can't give you feedback without me seeing it. I'm not going to ask you 900 questions, and let's talk tomorrow. So, all right, cool. So I give him a call. I have everything broken down and we look at it all. And dude, what we figured out was he had booked on average 4 to 5 appointments less every week. And he didn't even know. He was tracking his numbers, but he tracked it and didn't ever reflect and look at them. And so we broke it down, and every time he booked an appointment, it meant $544 in AP. Every time he booked an appointment. So he had 4 to 5 appointments less every week. And so that was 2,500. So he wrote 10,000 less. So normally he was 22 grand. He only wrote like 11,000 that month. And I said, dude, all you did was you booked 4 to 5 appointments less every single week. He's like, well, dang, I didn't know that. And he left, and I didn't give him no feedback on like, this is what you got to do in your phone script. This is what you got to do in your in-home. Let me break down how you connect. What's your value-based proposition? It was just, dude, just go book more appointments, bro. And by the way, pay attention to your freaking numbers. You're tracking them. Could you just actually look at them? Like, I didn't have to do that. You could have done it for yourself. You booked 5 appointments less a week, dude. It's math. He's like, got it. So he was tracking it, but he never did the math. He never did the math and broke it down. He just had all the data, but data is just data unless you actually give it purpose. And once he gave a purpose, it made all the difference in the world for him to leave that conversation and go out there and execute well. So let's talk about this real quick as we wrap up. Isaiah, can you talk about like the importance of your attention? Like, what has your attention, and how do you stay disciplined to keeping your attention where you want it to be? I mean, there's a lot of things that can distract and pull you away, whether it's social media, emails going off all the time, and different things that take place. It could be results. We kind of talked about how results can pull you. And a lot of times those could be fleeting, and you start to diagnose stuff incorrectly. Can you talk about attention and like how, because I think that for me and knowing you pretty well and spending a lot of time with you, you seem very focused, dude. Like what has your attention is intentional. How do you do that, and how important is that?
That's a really good question, man. So for me, I think it's really easy as, a business owner, being self-employed, being in this business, it is easy to get distracted, right? With just a lot of different stuff. And I think the main reason why people get distracted or, their attention might be pulled into other areas is because they want to try and find a shortcut. And, Sean always says, the new ideas department is shut down, right? But people are always trying to come up with some sort of new idea to do something. And the only reason why they're trying to do that is because they're trying to avoid work. Oh, I have this new idea we can do with this, with selling, we can, whatever, right? It's just trying to avoid time of sitting on the phone, booking appointments and going and running business and going seeing families. So for me, I understood that. And, I'm a guy where, I don't really want to learn the hard way. I'm a guy that's like, all right, Paul's done this. He's done it this way. Sean has done this. He's done it this way. Andrew's done it. He's all done it this way. If I look at all 3 of these people, all the people I look up to in this company, the foundation has been laid, right? So for me, I'm just like, why would I focus on anything else than what works? I know that this works because I see the success. So for me, the things that have my attention are, number one, agents that are intentional about working with us, intentional, people who are making a committed effort to be successful in this business. I try not to spend a lot of time on people who, who aren't as committed as to this business as I am. I focus my time on my staff, very focused on making sure that, they have everything that they need, that they can be successful and, help run this business. Really that's really it, honestly, is focusing on agents who are intentional about being serious here, and my staff. And all the other stuff, I mean, yes, for sure, I might deviate, but my primary focus is here is because I have a target, right? And my target is to get that integrity deal. And I know how crucial right now is, because I know that everything that I do right now today, everything that I do now counts, everything. So, there's a day where, family calls up and say, hey, we're going to Hawaii for a week. You should totally come, which actually is a thing. I'm like, hey, I can't do this because while I'm out in Hawaii, Dave Witchard is on the phone.
That's right.
Agents buying leads. And I mean, so I'm like, all right, I've got to be very just temporarily focused on this goal, man. So that's how to answer that question, dude.
I love that, dude. And it's just knowing timing, man. Like the timing is so good that it's actually easier to sacrifice and say no to things because it's so in front of you. Like when you look at the leaderboard and you're like, dude, that person went from 300 grand to $1 million. And then you're like, I went from 300 grand to 1.2, and then this person's doing 2.5 though. And this person, it's just like, you can see how good this season is. And it's easier to say, hey, if I want to go after this reward of integrity, well, I need to say no to all these things, or not right. Maybe not no, but just not now. Like not now. Hawaii's great, but just not now. Hawaii's going to be better in a year when you've got an integrity partnership and things like that. And the crazy thing is, man, once you even get to that place, it's like, it's so invigorating to do whatever you can to help others come behind you and get that same deal, which is going to be something that, just knowing your heart and where you're at and how you like to serve and how big of a team player you are, dude, once you get that deal, and you're going to be like, it's going to be weird. You're going to be like, dude, why am I wanting to work harder and spend more time? I thought I was giving 100%. Now I got this extra level that I'm feeling like I'm walking into. And it's just because you're seeing others see success. And I think that's where you feel that level of significance, and it just tastes so much better than the success that you could personally have. And it's gonna be exciting to watch you go into that, because there's no doubt with the growth that you've got and where you're at in the business that you're going to be an integrity partner in the next 12 months. I mean, that's my prediction, and I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm pretty good at predicting that kind of stuff. So it's looking really good for you, brother. And guys, I think as we wrap up, like, attention's such a big deal. You could have the right intention, but if you have the wrong attention, you're going to not execute. And so placing in the right places is crucial. Like I have, my daughter, we had this coach that I coached against about 4 years ago, Isaiah. It was with my daughter that's 14 in club. Now she was 10. And I was coaching her U10. And this coach on the other side of the field, dude, he would just scream, man, like just yelling the whole time, foul, or that ball's out of bounds, our ball, like when the ball would go out, like, our throwing. I wanted to go over there in a Christian way, just beat the hell out of him, is what I wanted to do. I mean, he drove me freaking nuts. And the problem was we had refs that were like 12. The freaking refs were 12, 13 years old. And so they were so inclined to be moved by whatever he said, dude. Like halfway through the game, I'm like, you're not even reffing the game. The coach is reffing the game. Like, why don't you you need to tuck your ears, like tuck your ears inside your freaking earlobe or your eardrum, like tuck them, stop listening, because he's got your attention on what he's saying. You can't even focus on what your job is, which is to ref the game the way it should be reffed. You're being manipulated. And see, I think a lot of times that's what happens in this business, man. Like we know, hey, we need to dial. Let's just sit down and dial. We need to block out some time. We need to just recruit. We need to do this. But then you get pulled away and your attention starts to get pulled this way and that way. And we're left at the end of the day without really seeing our intention come to pass. And so attention is such a big deal. And nowadays, everything is fighting over your attention, every being and alert and thing. And then also, like you said, Isaiah, and I love this point, and I wonder if there's anybody on here that's done this, where internally you have these triggers that when you're getting ready to do something that's uncomfortable, you come up with some other thing to go do to put your attention somewhere else so you don't feel bad about what you should be doing. So you open up and you start checking emails when you're not supposed to check emails. You're supposed to be dialing or checking emails when you're supposed to be, door knocking or calling an agent or on social media, and you're not posting on social media to build your business like you intended to, but you went on and you got caught, your attention got caught up in the news feed, and you're on Uncle Larry's ex-girlfriend's baby's daddy's page. And you're like, who the heck is this dude? Like, where did he come from? And, you're looking at his occupational background and like, what are you doing? That's what happens. And by the way, that's happened to me before. You know what I mean? Like I was the other day, Isaiah, I was, I don't know what happened. I went on social media to post something, bro. And I had good intention. And then all of a sudden, before I knew it, dude, something popped up, and it was some kid I went to high school with, and he was running for some governmental official position. And I'm like, what the heck? And I instantly felt inadequate. I'm like, dude, I freaking sell insurance and I run an insurance business. Like, what the heck? So dude, I'm like 15 minutes later, bro, I'm looking at his page, how many kids he's got. I'm dude, like, what am I doing? And it's just, and then by the way, now I got to try to get back on track. And that alone takes energy and effort because I was in the zone before I got pulled into that zone. You see what I'm saying? And it's just important stuff, man. It's just, it all matters. And so, dude, I appreciate you joining this morning, dude. I got a lot from this, dude. And every time you speak, I get a lot from it. And just the numbers, the focus, the attention, this stuff, guys, is probably one of the biggest things that will help you triple your business. And it might be one of the biggest things that would trip you up in getting to where you want to go in this business. And so, Isaiah, I just want to thank you, dude, for serving the team today, man. Thank you for spending the time with us and really covering these things that matter immensely in this business. So I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for joining.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Really you got it, man. All right, guys. Well, hey, go out there, make it a massive week. Be strong, stay steadfast, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey FFL, Victoria Serrano here, recruiter for West Coast. Just getting in touch with everybody to say we're giving away $250 in lead credits. If you put a comment on this, video last week, then you're automatically, eligible to win today. And if you do it today, then you're eligible for next time. So let's see who our winner is here.
Okay, cool. All right, so I guess I'll just go ahead and dive right into the interview then.
Casey Wilson is the winner. Give me a call, Casey, or text me at 760-552-9204. Have a great day, everyone.